Looking back on this year, there's a lot to be proud of, certainly, and I think there's a lot of things that we can build on going forward. This is a tied for our highest ranking ever at 12 in the country. The list of teams that we beat this year, some of the best, Power 5 schools in the country. But there's always things. Okay, what can we do better? What can we look forward to? And next year, there's a promising group of incoming students that are joining us, and we've learned a lot of lessons from this year, and some of the players they got a little, some chances to play this year. We'll get more opportunities next year, and I'm excited to see how they grow and improve. We'll be excited to get to work, as everyone comes back to campus in late August and September. Well, certainly one of the highlights of the year was the ITA kickoff that we hosted here in Cambridge. Playing UCLA in the first round, not an easy opponent, and beating them for the first time in program history was a high water mark for Harvard tennis, and really something that we were certainly really proud of. And then we played Northwestern in that second match to qualify for the ITA National Indoors in New York, and winning that and qualifying obviously sets up your year so well. And so being able to get those 2 wins, advance, and then get a chance to play, the top 16 teams in the country, really sort of catapulted our year and got us started off on the right foot. Well, the Ivy season, of course, is always tough, and to win 3 straight Ivy League titles is something that it's a hell of an accomplishment, and certainly for our graduating seniors to leave with 3 rings is an accomplishment and something to be really proud of. This was really maybe one of the best years in Ivy League men's tennis history, and to get a share of the title was a huge accomplishment. Being able to win on the road against Cornell, which is, they've been a great team. They beat Columbia at their place, and they're so tough in Ithaca. And then to come back here and to beat Princeton at home, to have Rohan Murali, our freshman, come out and win in a third set with everything riding on the match was, a moment none of us will forget, and something that we'll look back on in the years to come. Hosting the NCAAs that's a big deal, and to be able to do that again, and to have the Barron Tennis Center be the host and the center point for the NCAA tournament was, that's a big check in the season. And then to be able to advance and win both our matches at home, sort of following up on what we did last year, and to play a very good BU team, and then to play Michigan State, and really start to put together some of our best performances. I thought, by the end of the season at the Princeton match and at Michigan State, and then on to Kentucky, we were playing our best tennis of the year, which is, as a coach, something that you always want to point to and want to make sure that you're progressing and raising the level and improving. So Cooper's first year, he had a remarkable first year, and to be playing number 1 and playing against everybody's best player day in and day out is a challenge, and he sort of rose to that challenge and really embraced it. Credit to him, and throughout the season I thought he was getting better, and he was really healthy there at the end as well, and playing the best tennis at the NCAA tournament. And it's remarkable to make the quarterfinals as a first year is no easy feat. To be an All-American is no easy task, and to be a leader of the team, to play number 1 in singles and doubles was huge for us. Well, it's tough to say goodbye to the seniors, and this group especially, having 4 seniors and our manager, Keeling Baker, they're going to leave a big hole in our program, and they meant so much in terms of setting our culture, setting our standards, and sort of enforcing that and living that day in and day out. And so they set a high bar, and one of they're leaving with 3 Ivy League titles, and there's a reason for that, and they were really dedicated, devoted. Obviously, Henry von der Schulenburg leaving, as the sort of male athlete of the year here at Harvard, and an All-American, and just an amazing competitor, and somebody that we'll certainly miss on court. But I think his lessons and his example sort of lives on. And Alan Yim came in and really played a lot of doubles for us this year, but just his dedication and devotion to the game rubbed off on everybody. And watching Ronan Jacek, who played singles and doubles for us for 4 years, and sort of was a rock. He played a lot at number 4 this year, and really was a centerpiece for what we did, these last 4 years. He loves college tennis, and he embraces that, and made it really easy to come to work every day. David Arco, our other senior, was somebody that made every day more fun, and brought a great attitude and energy, and he's improved so much over the 4 years, and that's we as coaches love to see that. And another thing to be proud of this season was how many different people got into matches and contributed and helped us achieve our goals this year. If you look back, the number of doubles lineups we had, the number of different singles lineups we had, we had a lot of people making huge contributions. Valdemar Pape came in and clinched the match at Columbia, one of our bigger wins of the season. We played him in national indoors. Masa Pereira actually, crazy stat, but actually played all 6 different singles positions during the year, won a match at every spot in the singles lineup. We watched Melchior Deloy play an unbelievable season, indoors, and then really step up in doubles to help anchor our number 2 doubles team. He made big contributions. We talked about Rohan Murley, who clinched our match at Princeton. I mean, this was talk about a team effort. This really was a team effort. I think when we look back at the end of the season, we also want to say thank you to not only our fans, the Harvard community that supported us, our administrative staff, our alums. People were really leaning in, following our team, and there's nothing, that makes you feel better as a coach than watching your alumni community really embrace this group, get to know them and support them, on the road or at home, and even with text messages and emails, and just knowing people were watching the streaming and following along was, a huge boost. I think our team felt that support, and that goes a long way.